Unless you're a born investigative reporter, quality interview answers are about as scarce as water in a desert. However, interviews are the heart of any documentary. So by learning how to get emotional and descriptive answers from your subjects, you can make a documentary worth watching.
Some interviews can be more nerve-wracking for the director than it is for the talent, but it doesn't have to be. With a little preparation and knowledge, it can actually be one of the most thrilling parts of making a documentary. To help you get prepared, we're going to show you what to include when briefing your talent, how to ask quality questions, and good ways to respond to questions that will get you the sound bites that you need.
The first thing you'll want to do in any interview is brief your talent. The talent is the most important part of the interview, so making sure they know the topic of the conversation gives you a better chance at getting a relaxed subject and a good interview. Every interview should be treated like a conversation, so asking your talent how their day's been going, if they have any questions about the interview, and if they need anything to drink are great ways to make them feel comfortable and ready to talk. However, during the briefing, make sure that your talent doesn't start answering the same questions that will be given in the interview. Rarely is a repeated answer as good as the first one. Once your talent is in front of the camera, it's your job to make them look and speak naturally. Make sure to tell your talent to speak with you instead of the camera, and reassure them that any mistakes they might make can be taken out in the editing room.
Every interviewer dreams of getting that one emotional and informational response that gives a documentary its meaning. All that starts though by asking the right kinds of questions. Leading questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no are the most common mistakes that amateur interviewers make. Here's an example.
Do you like surfing?
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for a long time, right?
Yeah, about 10 years.
Is there anything else you like to do besides surfing?
No, not really.
Unless you plan on having the interviewer's voice as part of the documentary, these answers will be too short and detached to derive any real meaning. Instead, asking open-ended questions that start with how, why, where, or what will force your subject to be more descriptive with their responses. Here's an example of the same interviewer using open-ended questions.
So what do you like about surfing?
Oh, it's like being a part of something big, you know? Like you're surfing and you're on the waves, you're on top of it. You're on top of the whole ocean. That's what it feels like to me, like I'm part of this whole ecosystem.
How long have you been surfing?
For about 10, 13 years, whatever it's been. Like my aunt gave me a shortboard when I was young, and so I just started skimming waves and I just fell in love with floating on top of the water.
What would you do if you weren't surfing?
Dude, like, surfing's life. If I didn't have this, I wouldn't have life.
In order to be sure you get what you need, it's a good idea to write out a question list. This list should be written in a logical order that eases your talent into the topic you want them to discuss. Ask the most benign and simple questions first. Then, once you've built some rapport with them, gradually ask more complex questions until you come to the heart of what you want them to say. Here's an example of that method in action.
Hi, how you doing? What have you been up to lately?
You know, I just been enjoying my trip up in Northern Cali. Like, normally I stick to the beach, but it's been cool to get some sun like this.
Why do you enjoy surfing so much?
Oh, you know, surfing on top of the waves is awesome because you're the master of the ocean and you're really over all the creatures in the sea. It's really cool.
I'm sure surfing has its dangers. What kinds of things have you seen?
Yeah, so like there's always a chance of jellyfish getting out there and stinging you, and that can numb up like a whole leg at a time. But the real danger are the sharks, man, because you get in their territory, you know, drop a little scent of blood, and they're on top of you. Like my buddy Evan, he had to deal with one the other day.
So what were your first thoughts when you saw your friend getting attacked?
Oh man, when Evan was there, I was like, I don't want to be right where he is. Like, no one wants to be there, man. But it's just like, just a big reminder, check to reality, to know that there's that other balance of power out there in the ocean. You just got to respect it.
It's also good to develop 3 or 4 themes for your subject to touch on, and write a few questions down for each one. Just don't get so enamored with your question list that you don't let yourself delve deeper into a subject's personal moment. Lastly, you'll want to end the interview by asking your subject if there's anything else they want to say or didn't feel was adequately covered. This will sometimes provide a very powerful or personal response that can greatly enhance your documentary.
As important as asking the right questions is, listening can be just as important. An interview should be a two-way conversation, so interviewers should feel free to respond to what a subject is saying. This can keep the energy level of your subject high and can lead to a more natural-sounding interview. Of course, not all feedback is verbal. Nonverbal feedback through eye contact, head nodding, smiles, and head gestures can help to elicit emotional responses as well. Also, make sure that you don't step on the toes of your subject. Wait for them to finish speaking before you ask another question. Werner Herzog, a famous documentarian, does this very well in many of his documentaries. Here's an example.
And with the bear. Ultimately, she stayed with the bear in the situation.
Awkward silences like these encourage your subject to expand on their answer and let them determine the direction of the conversation. Now, interviews don't have to be a lot of work. In fact, with adequate preparation and the knowledge we've given, your documentary interview should be the most fun and relaxing part of your production.